What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm looking to answer some of the biggest questions in the Pokemon Draft League community, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed your help. For about a month now, I've been plugging the survey in all the servers that I'm in. I've also plugged it on Twitter, and I've even gotten some friends to plug it in their personal servers on my behalf. This survey was about Gen 7 Draft League, so Pokemon Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon. The idea was to answer questions like best player, best Pokemon, best move, as well as some fun questions about the community, including the best team name, favorite graphics artist, and answering the question, Megas or Z moves? Now those aren't the only questions, there are more, so I encourage you guys to stick around and let me know what you guys think about the results of my little experiment. My original plan was to reach out to some content creators who play Draft League and have only them fill out the survey, but I wanted at least 100 submissions and I couldn't get 100 content creators, so I opened it up to people who don't upload as well. We do have the answers of quite a few bigger content creators, so shout out to them, as well as a few fan favorites who were able to be featured on the channel before. For each question, I made a chart just for talking about the answers. Most questions were open-ended, so there is going to be an other category for some of them. Now we're about to get started, but before we do, if you guys end up enjoying this video, do me a favor and leave a like on the video. If you want to see more content from me, including top 10s, Pokemon discussions, or Pokemon Draft League videos, then be sure to subscribe. Also, I want to thank everyone who participated in this experiment, and I hope everyone learned something from it. Lastly, this video is not a competition. I was just curious about what people thought about this generation. Anyways, let's get started. Starting off the survey, we have two questions about graphics artists. Artists are some of the most important and awesome people in our community. A lot of what creators do is just not possible without them. So I want to give a huge thank you on everyone's behalf to all the amazing artists out there. Here are the results for the best graphics artist for thumbnails and layouts. Out of 101 responses, only 3 artists received more than 5% of the vote. But first, we'll start with some that just barely missed the top cut, which are Elite Four Dan, Mr. Elander, Freezelander, John Jr., Fiery Dance, and Aaron2420. I'm sorry if I butchered any names there. Now here are the top 3, from least votes to most votes. In third place is Odds Are with 9 votes. In second, we have High Velocity Boy, aka Grant, with 18 votes. And in first place, we have Bill Standish with 27 votes. So huge congrats to those 3. I'm a big fan of all of their works, and they're all very deserving of making this list. So again, congratulations. Here are the results for the best graphics artist for logos. Firstly, we have 2 other categories here. There's Other 1 and Other 2. Other 1 was for anyone receiving at least 3 votes. Those were Azar, Odds Are, Thunder Obolt, and Wise Digital Designs. Other 2 was for anyone receiving fewer than 3 votes. But here's the breakdown for the top 3. In third place, we have High Velocity Boy with 8 votes. We then have John Jr. in second place with 15 votes. And once again, in first place is Bill Standish with an impressive 40 votes. Congrats again to everyone. If you're looking for any graphics work, I highly suggest any of the names I mentioned in either of these categories. They're all fantastic artists, and again, I really suggest you guys check them out. Our next category is Best Team Name. This one also had 101 submissions, but the graph will look slightly different since there was only 4 team names with at least 3 votes. There are 9 teams, however, who managed to get at least 2 votes. They are the Adelaide Unitedier Safren Codes, the Dunkingdra Donuts, the Bronx Bearticks, the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, the Milwaukee Bewares, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Real Marill, the Sakajurima Milotics, and then the Seattle Sea Kings, so congrats to all of them. But now we move on to those who tied for second place with 3 votes each, and we have a 3-way tie between the Maryland Torterrapins, the Swole DDDs, and the San Diego Chim Chargers. So amazing team names, all 3 of you. And in first place with double the amount of votes as the second place competitors is the Kansas City Girachiefs. By far the most popular name, and congrats to everyone on this list. All are super original names. Next up, we are going to be looking at the best players this generation. And I don't have any fancy metrics or counts of championships to support my results, but you can't go wrong with anyone who made the top 5. There is an other category, but it's quite small compared to the top 5. In 5th place, with 5 votes, we have Envy. Tied for 3rd place with 6 votes each are Crick and Pokeaim. In 2nd place with 8 votes is Zazo. And in 1st place with 57 votes, yes, 57, is Gypsy King. Now, I haven't gotten the chance to play everyone on this list, but I know about all of them, and they are all insanely good at this game. So if you get the chance to play them, bring your A game. Anyways, congrats to everyone who made this list. A lot of players are striving to be as good as you, so just keep up the great work. Next, we have 2 categories for the most entertaining content creators. One for over 1,000 subscribers, and another one for fewer than 1,000 subscribers. Starting with over 1,000 subs. I'm just going to shout out the top 3, but you can see the breakdown here. So congrats to Joey Pokeaim, Wolf Glick, A-Drive, and Gypsy. I and so many other people have spent countless hours watching all of these awesome creators, so if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to go and check them out. Next, we're going to be looking at the most entertaining creators with fewer than 1,000 subs. The graph here is only going to show people who received more than 2 votes, and a lot of people still put down creators with over 1,000 subs or just didn't put anyone down at all. But there are so many awesome people that just didn't end up making this list, so I want to shout out a few of them. There's UltraPlayer12, Panther2, Clutch Sometimes, Goldoa Dragon, and Luxance, and obviously there are so many more, but I urge you guys to go check out some of the smaller channels because they all post awesome content. Anyways, congrats to Dr. Slacking, Aaron2420, and John Jr. for all being on this list. All are extremely entertaining and have different styles of content creation that I'm sure you'll all love. All the people I mentioned for these past 2 categories will have their links in the description, so I urge you to go and check them out. Moving on to the most entertaining league. The top 4 were the BBL, which has an incredible perspective on Draft League, allowing every single Pokemon released except for Mega Rayquaza. There's the APA, which has built one of the strongest communities out there with a league for every tier. There's the GBA, which is the founding league and a start for content creation for so many people. And finally, the WBE, which is redefining Draft League for our entire community. Next up is the most competitive league. Just like for the most entertaining league, there is an other category here. The top 5, however, were the WBE with 7 votes, the GBA with 9 votes, the APA with 13 votes, League Dependency with 16 votes, and in first place, the Hive with 17 votes. All have great competition and have a ton of great players participating. But the best part about this is there's a great mix of Showdown and Wi-Fi leagues, which means you don't need to own a 3DS to compete at such a high level. To wrap up our discussion on individual leagues, here's a chart of people's favorite leagues and another one on the most competitive tournaments. TTM is a mix of Summer Showdown and March Madness. They both just had around 30 votes each, so I put them together. Next, we have 2 questions on drafting. The first is, what is your favorite style of drafting? And the second is, what is your least favorite style of drafting? Beginning with the favorites, I found that points drafts are people's preferences, followed by tiers. This wasn't a surprise to me that these were the top 2, but I understand why points finished ahead of tiers. Points allow for more accurate representation of the strength of individual Pokemon. That's because you can put them into one of usually 18 different categories, while tiered only has 5 categories. So the difference in strength between the best tier 3 and the worst tier 3 is much bigger than the difference between the best 10-point mon and the worst 10-point mon. Moving to the other graph, we see that free drafts are the least favorite style, followed by auction. I was kind of surprised to see this. I thought auction would take the most votes, but that wasn't the case. Free drafts have no structure and it makes things very difficult to manage, so I can see why they would take this much of the vote. Now we're at my favorite part of the experiment, the questions about the games themselves. Our first question was, what is the most underrated Pokemon? There were 14 Pokemon with 2 votes and only 3 with more than 2, so the graph is going to only have the top 3, but I'll go over the other 14 soon. Tied for second place with 3 votes each were Reuniclus and Zorora. Reuniclus makes sense to me. It's tough to beat unless you have a great Bug, Dark, or Ghost type, and usually those mons are few and far between. But I didn't expect Zorora to be ranked this high. To be fair, there may be a bit of personal bias here since this would have been one of my answers to the most overrated Pokemon. Regardless, they both tied for second, but in first place was Necrozma. I was on the Necrozma bandwagon for a long time and I'm only recently off of it. It is a great Pokemon, and yes, it is underrated, but I didn't think this many people would feel this way about it. Anyways, here is a list of other Pokemon that received multiple votes, some of which I agree with and others I just don't agree with. Starting with Clefable, Comfey, Cryogonal, Donphan, Gardevoir, Heracross, Lapras, Lycanroc Dusk, Mega Garchomp, Mega Medicham, Metagross, Piloswine, Tapu Bulu, and Vikavolt. Moving on to our next category, it is for the most overrated Pokemon. I've done a video on this topic with Aaron2420 in the past, so you guys should check that out if you're curious as to what we think, but here's the breakdown of the results of our experiment. I'll start this one with the Pokemon receiving 3 votes since they just missed the top cut. They were Heatran, Landorus I, Mega Gallade, Mega Kangaskhan, and Tapu Fini. Next, here are the results of the top cut. One thing I noticed about these results is that all of these Pokemon would be tier 1 in most standard drafts, with maybe the exception of Hoopa U. There are also, in my opinion, multiple Pokemon that would belong in a list of the top 10 Pokemon in all of Draft League here. I am surprised that Landorus and Tapu Koko were the top 2 finishers here, but again, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Next category is for the best newcomer. This goes to a Pokemon whose first games were either Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. We had quite a few Pokemon with less than 3 votes, so I put them in the other category. But in a distant third place, we had Magearna. Now this might be because most people think it's a Gen 6 Pokemon, or because it's banned in most standard leagues. Regardless, it only had 4 votes. In second place, we had Celesteela with 19 votes. I completely understand its selection and it is worthy of a top 2 finisher. But in first place, with 54 votes, was Tapu Koko, an extremely well-rounded Pokemon, and as good as it is, I'm surprised that the gap between it and Celesteela is this big. I definitely expected it to be on this list, just not this much higher than everything else. Moving on to the most improved Pokemon. This category is for a Pokemon that improved the most from the X and Y or ORAS metagames to the Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon metagames. I removed the other category from this graph because there were just so many, but we have a great top 5. Tied for 4th, we have Mega Gallade and Landorus T, with 5 votes each. Mega Gallade was a shock to me, but it has great offensive typing, bulk, and speed, and it pairs well with many of the Pokemon added to this generation. Landorus T is the poster child of the OU tier and now has access to Defog, making it capable of doing so much more. In third place, however, was Hawlucha with 6 votes. Now the reason it's this high has to be because of the introduction of terrains as an ability. Any Tapu plus Hawlucha is a scary combo that most people usually need to be creative to beat. But if you're struggling with it, there are ways around it, like Sticky Barb or Red Card, which can slow down Hawlucha for you. Anyways, in second place is Zygarde 50%, thanks to one of the best moves in the game, 1000 Arrows. It finishes 1 vote behind our first place finisher, Pelipper. Pelipper now has access to Drizzle, giving Rain teams a much better setter than Politoed. It also has U-turn, recovery, and removal to support your team, so it's not surprising it's in the top 2. Next we have the category which many of you are here for. What is the best Pokemon? I've narrowed it down to the top 5 again, and in 5th place we have Mega Latios, which surprised me, because Mega Latias is usually considered better. Anyways, in 4th place we have Landorus Therian with 8 votes. In 3rd place with 10 votes is Mew. In 2nd place with 19 votes is Celesteela, and in 1st place with 29 votes is Tapu Koko. The top 4 aren't surprising to me. I genuinely believe these are the 4 best Pokemon in draft outside of Megas. I've done 2 videos on my personal top 10 and all 4 of these made my top 5. You can't go wrong with any of these Pokemon in my opinion. Moving on to the category of moves. First we have Best Hazard. The options were Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Stealth Rocks, and Sticky Web, and unsurprisingly, Stealth Rock was the clear winner. This was followed by T-Spikes in 2nd, Sticky Web in 3rd, and finally Spikes in last place. I then asked the question, Defog or Rapid Spin? Which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments below, but the majority of people in this survey chose Defog. Both obviously have pros and cons, it just depends on which is your preference. Finally, for the move category, I asked, what is the best move in the game? And while all these moves are great, on your screen is the breakdown. If you had to ask me, I would say Earthquake is the most out of place, as it's just a damaging move and nothing else. But the other 6 here all have a lot of value. You can knock off items, Scald for burns, Stealth Rock was established as the best hazard, 1000 Arrows is a ground type move without an immunity, Toxic racks up damage each turn, and U-turn provides momentum allowing you to get a better matchup. All are amazing moves, and with the exception of 1000 Arrows, they're all extremely common. Next, I asked Megas versus Z moves, and almost everyone voted for Megas, so hopefully the new mechanic in Sword and Shield can live up to the hype. Moving on, we have arguably 2 of the most important questions that I asked. I asked everyone for their top 3 most and least important types, and here are the results. Starting with the most important types, keep in mind there are around 300-ish responses because each person had 3 votes. So the top 3 were Water, Fairy, and Steel, with Fairy and Steel being far ahead of the rest. Honestly, the top 5 are probably what my top 5 would be, but I think personally I'd have Dark higher and Steel lower, but nevertheless these are all great types. Next is the least important types, and I'll just say I 100% agree with the top 3. Here's the breakdown. Tied for second is Rock and Ice, and in first is Bug. While there are some cool bug types, how often do you just grab a bug because it's a bug? Usually it's because it has a secondary typing, or because you need help to beat Psychics, Darks, or Grasses. Ice is the same. Pure Ice isn't a great type, but all the good ice types have awesome dual typings. Think of Weavile, Mamoswine, and Kyurem. Rocks usually have the dual typing of ground, and again, there aren't many good pure rock types. I am kinda surprised to see Ghost on this list, as only normal and dark types don't take neutral or super effective damage from their attacks, and they help spin block. But it is what it is. If you want more information on these types, maybe even a list on each of the best Pokemon of each type, I've already made a video on the top 6 Pokemon of each type on this channel. They're all in a playlist in the description or in the cards at the top right of your screen. Moving on, we have a ranking of the best style of draft. The 5 options I gave were Standard, Some Ubers, All Ubers, Tier 3 and below, and Little Cup. The way the rankings were calculated was by assigning each ranking a value. So first place was worth 5 points, second place was worth 4 points, and so on. Now the option with the most points was the favorite, so here was the point breakdown. In 5th place with 210 votes was Little Cup, which kinda sucks since I find it really fun. In 4th place with 213 points was All Ubers. In 3rd place with 300 points was Tier 3 and below. In 2nd place with 328 points was Some Ubers. And in 1st place with 479 points was Standard Drafts. Finally, I asked the question, which game had the best meta? X and Y, ORAS, or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? And I'm happy to say that the majority of people voted for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which is very cool because it means we didn't go backward. We didn't take a step back from previous generations. I did ask one last question though. It just said, how would you improve Draft League? But the results were all over the place. Most people wanted either Z moves banned or completely open. A lot of people said no change, but the most overwhelming comment had to do with banning toxic behavior. I wanted to do this video because I enjoy this game. Sure, it gets stale at some points and I lack motivation sometimes too, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy the people, the game, and uploading for you guys. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this video is that we have a great game, and our community has some damn good people in it. We just have to make an effort to keep it strong and not allow it to become toxic and hate-filled. I've been uploading since just after Sun and Moon's release, and I'm so grateful for all the people that have made these past 2.5 years so amazing. So thank you. If you guys like this video or you learned something, leave a like on the video, and I'd appreciate it if you shared it as well, whether it's on Discord, Twitter, or wherever. Also, if you want to see more content from me, whether it's top 10s, discussions, or more Draft League content, make sure to subscribe as well. Thank you to everyone who answered the survey. Their name should be on your screen right now. And thank you all so much for watching. I'm excited to see what this community will do in Generation 8. But that's it for me, so thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.